Hello there, everybody. I have been working on some aggro decks in Lorcana, and the reason for that is because, as much as I love Amber Steel, the red-blue items deck is really strong against Amber Steel, and because Amber Steel is very popular online, the red-blue items deck has been picking up a lot of popularity, and playing Amber Steel into that all day isn't very fun, and so I think the aggro decks have a decent matchup against the blue-red control deck as well as the Ruby Amethyst control deck. So I've been trying to build a good aggro list that I like, and ideally one that has some game against Amber Steel as well. Now obviously any aggro deck into Amber Steel is probably not going to be a great matchup, but if you have some game, 30-40% chance to win, I think you'll have a deck that's well positioned in the metagame going forward. So where I'm starting today is this Amethyst Emerald deck, and I'll go through it real quick with you. I think you've got 8 1-drops that are really aggressive here. Pascal obviously is difficult to challenge, and Maleficent Quest for 2. You don't really have any other options that are really good aggro cards in either of these ink colors, so I think you're kind of forced to play 4 of each of these. You have the Madame Mim bounce package here, which can be used to protect Maleficent and Pinocchio and sometimes Arthur, which is really nice against decks that are trying to challenge your characters to control the board. Pinocchio, obviously an amazing questing threat. Enchantress and Flynn Rider are nice questers out of the Emerald ink, and they quest for 2, which is great, and they also get some value when challenged, which is nice. Obviously, Enchantress usually will trade with whatever is challenging it, at least in the early game, and Flynn Rider forces your opponent to discard a card. As far as 3-drops, beyond the Madame Mim Fox, I think Arthur is amazing. It's perhaps the most aggressive 3-drop currently in the game. You can use it to protect Maleficent or Pinocchio, just like the Madame Mims, and it basically quests for 3 lore, which is awesome. And Maleficent 3-drop, of course, draws a card, replaces itself, just an all-around very good card. Almost any Amethyst deck is going to want to play, some number of copies of this. Cheshire Cat is here as another hyper-aggressive 3-drop. Madame Mim, Fox, and Maleficent aren't the most aggressive characters, but Cheshire Cat is sometimes useful, and you'll often ink a Maleficent and choose to play Cheshire if you're in a matchup where you just need to beat down. For 4-drops, we have Merlin, and Donald Duck. This Merlin is just amazing in any aggro deck. The stats are pretty good. It gets lore no matter what, even if they board wipe it. Just an all-around great card. You can bounce it to force lore through, just fantastic. This Merlin plays a similar role to Maleficent, draws a little bit more, but isn't particularly aggressive. The reason I'm only playing 2 copies is primarily that it's uninkable, and this deck has a lot of uninkables. It also, not being the most aggressive, makes it an easy trim for me. This Donald Duck, however, is amazing. It quests for 2, and it draws you cards. Now, because you are the aggro deck in most matchups, you will be emptying your hand much faster than your opponent, so this card draw ability is much better for you than it typically is for whoever you're playing against. And 5 willpower is a really nice number. Most characters in the mid-game cannot take out Donald Duck in 1 attack, with the exception of Maui. Cusco, I think, speaks for itself. Basically, the most aggressive 5-drop in the game, can't be targeted, basically guarantees a 3 lore quest unless your opponent has a Be Prepared. I'm playing 1 copy of Genie on the job. I think Genie's a pretty decent character, but it can be hard to get to 6 sometimes in this deck, and you never, ever want to draw 2 Genies, and so I think 1 is a pretty safe number to play. As far as actions, we've got Befuddle. I'm playing Befuddle as an attempt to slow down the Amber Amethyst aggro deck as well as the Amber Steel deck. I think hopefully this can buy some time by bouncing a 1-drop that the Amber Steel deck wants to shift onto. The Friends on the Other Side obviously is here for drop power, and the Sorcerer's Spellbook is a really nice repeatable way to gain lore at the end of the game to push your way across the finish line. Against a lot of the controlling red decks, you're going to face down a Be Prepared, and then they're going to have Maleficent or Elsa or Scar to just continually take out every threat you play turn after turn after turn, but there's little those decks can actually do against the Sorcerer's Spellbook, so this is a nice way to get the last 3, 4, 5 lore along with this Merlin Goat. And yeah, that's the deck, so let's play some games. Hello there, I'm currently trying to see if an Amethyst Emerald aggro deck is viable. I've been trying to see if I can play something like Befuddle to slow down the Amber Steel deck a little bit, so I can aggro them out. I'm not sure if it's a good plan yet, but that's what we're here trying to figure out. I'm going to ship back the Uninkables just because they're riskier and I have a 1-2-3. Could consider keeping Pinocchio. If I was on the play, I think I'd be more inclined to do that. On the draw, I just think the other stuff is more likely to be good. And we're up against Amber Steel right away. Don't have the best hand into it, that's for sure. Enchantress is not where you want to be. Yeah, this is tough. I'm going to play my Pascal, but it's pretty likely just going to get shot down. But yeah, so the idea behind this deck is that I think the aggro decks are really well positioned against the Ruby Amethyst deck and against the blue-red Popsicle deck, which is becoming a menace on the ladder. And if you can find an aggro deck that doesn't just fold to Amber Steel, I think you'd have a really well-positioned deck. So I'm kind of in the hunt for that right now. I'm not sure this is it. I was trying Befuddle. Part of me thinks you might need Fire the Cannons to accomplish this goal. But if I can do it with Befuddle, I think that would be great. At this point, we're pretty much done and dusted against a Grab Your Sword. But that's okay. Given that they kept their hand, I'm guessing they have some sort of shift character, and they've inked Queen, which means they must have something else. Probably another Queen. Yep. Grab your sword? No. Okay. Well. The tough thing about Enchantress is that the Queen's going to let something trade into it pretty easily. Yeah, there's just no... I feel like there's just no good player here. I'm going to play Arthur because it's our most aggressive character. I'm going to double quest as well. Being on the play, we might have had a chance, depending on what their hand is. On the draw here, it looks like they're going to be too fast for us. Yeah, it's a good hand. It's tough. I could have played Befuddle at some point, but when they have 3 1-drops, it's impossible to know which one you want to Befuddle. If they have removal spells, you want to Befuddle Cinderella. If they have, you know, the shift targets, you want to Befuddle the Queen and Stitch. But when there's all 3 of them, you're kind of just out of luck. Yeah. I mean, there's no way we can race. It's unfortunate. I wish we would have been on the play so we could see how that played out. But all right. Like I thought, it's going to be a bad matchup. I mean, I think any aggro deck you play is going to be a bad matchup into Amber Steel. I actually want to try and queue into them again and see if it feels any different on the play. Okay. On the draw again, unfortunately. All right. Let's see. I'm going to ship the Uninkables. Keep 1 and 2 drop. Different opponent. Now we're up against some sort of steel deck. I'll ship the Inkable 4 since I just drew an Uninkable 4. Really, any steel deck's probably a bad matchup, so excited to see if we can pull one out on the draw. Mill. All right, we maybe have a chance against Mill. If that's what they're doing, I want to just be as aggressive as possible, at least early on. So I'll play the Pinocchio here. I want to get as much questing done before they get to grab your sword as I can. Okay, Tinkerbell, pretty good into what I'm doing right now, unfortunately. But what we can do is we probably don't want to draw cards in this matchup, but we can pick up the Pinocchio and play another Pascal. This is obviously bad to shift Tinkerbell, but I mean, we have so many characters that are going to be bad into shift Tinkerbell. But doesn't look like they had it. Just some cheap stuff. Okay. Well, next turn they could have Grab Your Sword, so I think I want to quest with everything and then just play a Merlin Rabbit. I would like a chance to get a Cusco in play. It would be unfortunate if they wheel us here, because these cards end up being, the Cuscos end up being pretty important, I think, in the late game. Losing 2 would be a little unfortunate. Okay, well, we're not going to get wheeled this turn, which is nice. Yeah, happy to just ink a friends. I'm going to keep questing. They're going to need to find a sweeper to beat us. Just a matter of how quickly they manage to do it. Alright, there's the whole new world. No surprise there. We'll have some options on our turn. Getting Arthur in play, I think, would be pretty good. Hoping for no Tinkerbell and no Grab Your Sword here. Looks like we maybe dodged that bullet. Wow, okay, they have to smash a Pascal. I'm okay with that. That seems good for me. Mother knows best on Merlin Rabbit. All right. Well, let's start by questing. I'm for sure doing that. So now, what do we want to put in play? Probably as much toughness as we can, as much willpower. And I think befuddling this Hercules might actually be pretty good. We know that they don't have a Tinkerbell or Grab Your Sword right now because they would have played it. So I can maybe play into that a little bit. Plus I have a ton of action. I'm gonna befuddle that. I feel like that there's a good chance of that getting us. Still hoping for no Tink, no Grab Your Sword. 15's a decent total. Might be able to just quest for a few every turn, or at least threaten it every turn, and cross the finish line that way. Shoot, they found it. It's unfortunate. Okay. Well, I'm kind of wishing I had a 1-drop now. Maybe regrettable the way I chose to play this. But I'm going to start here. Okay, drew a befuddle. I don't know how useful that'll be, but let's start by just getting some lore. And now I think what I want to do is put another Arthur in play. because that threatens to win the game. And if they plan to mill us out, they're going to have to wheel again at some point. I'm afraid of Shift Cinderella, which could attack readied characters. That would be really, really strong for them. Okay, they can bounce my Arthur. Okay, another wheel. It's a good one. Should be difficult for them to deal with, I think. They might have to beat me on their next turn. Actually, I should have lethal. Unless they wheel again. Because I can just play Merlin, bounce Merlin for 20. Alright, we got there. Not bad. Had to get a little bit lucky with them not having an early grab your sword, but good to know that we can beat steel. Okay. Now we're on the play. With what looks to be a decent hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to keep one Befuddle, either as ink or not, depending on the matchup. If I keep this hand, I'm going to have to ink Flynn maybe on turn 1. That's fine. Okay. I'm gonna get aggressive and play this Maleficent. Opponent says hello. Say hello back. What are we playing against here? Could have considered actually holding the Pascal, and that would leave us open to Befuddle plus Pascal on turn 2. I kind of wish I had done that and maybe inked the Flynn or even the Donald Duck. Because there are definitely matchups where I would like to do that. Yeah, would have been pretty good here. Would have been pretty good here. But that is a-okay. We're just gonna keep moving along. Some sort of Olaf deck. I don't know what's playing Olaf right now. Pascal Olaf. Could be Ruby Amethyst, could be... Well, it's definitely some sort of Amethyst aggressive mirror. That much is clear at this point. I'd love to draw an Inkable. That qualifies. I'm going to play, I think... They can't really do a lot with their Pinocchio right now. I mean, they can maybe bounce it. What am I worried about? Mana Mim next turn? Yeah, that would be unfortunate. Pinocchio Quest Mana Mim challenge. Okay, I'm gonna play Arthur and hold back Maleficent for one more turn. We could have a big turn next turn with bouncing Maleficent. Yeah, it looks like they're gonna play a Mim here or something. I'm assuming Fox Mim challenge Flynn. Yep. No surprise there. At least they lose a card out of it. This is gonna be an annoying one for us. I don't hate Pascal. But okay, I'm going to start like this. Get some lore. We're going to lose this Arthur, and I think that's okay. I think what I want to do is play my draw Merlin. And now just start playing aggressive threats and try to quest our way to a win here before they're able to stabilize. It would be nice for us to draw our own Fox Mim, I think, at some point here. I still don't think I know my opponent's second ink. Could be anything. I think people are trying this min package with all the colors, kind of like me. I've already tried Ruby. I have plans to try Steel too. Ooh, they're going really deep with Crab Merlin. Okay, I actually kind of like that. So what do I want to do? I have up to 5 ink. I could play, if I ink Pascal, even though I kind of like Pascal here. But I could get really aggressive if I ink Pascal. I mean, I could ink Enchantress too. So many options. I think I'm going to trade, well, this Foxmim is going to die no matter what it attacks. I think I'm okay with that. Let's quest here. Then I think I'm going to ink the Enchantress. Just because Olaf can trade into it, which annoys me. I think I want to just get as much stuff in play as possible. And this Pascal threatens to be 1 lore per turn, pretty much indefinitely. I'm guessing they're going to be forced to trade with my Merlin, or at the very least, use both of these characters to take it out. Then we get to draw a card. Currently we have 1, 2, 3, 6 lore available to us for questing next turn, and this Arthur can protect the Maleficent, which is really nice. All right, well, they've got a lot of cards over there, so we're gonna have to be really aggressive and close the game, because there is no chance we're gonna beat them on cards. Drawing this Foxman was good, I think. We can protect Arthur now if we want. Arthur is sort of the most aggressive creature in the deck. Quests basically for 3 and protects other characters. There's their Pinocchio. But alright, let's get our quest on here. I think this is all no-brainer for me. And I think I will protect my Arthur. And take out their Olaf. Then ink. Play my Arthur again. I feel like have I still not seen another color from my opponent? I do need to be worried about Be Prepared if they're trying to hide Ruby from me. Something like a Dragonfire would also be pretty annoying too. They could trade. Although that wouldn't be the worst thing ever, since they would lose all their characters. But yeah, it feels like they're trying to hide their second ink, or I'm just not paying enough attention to what they've inked. Goat Merlin. Protecting Pinocchio. Sure. That all makes sense to me. I think... I mean, I don't have lethal. I'm 1 shy. So, how do I want to go about this? Let's kind of tricky because they very well could have Be Prepared next turn. I think I'm going to do this because it's ink efficient. I could potentially quest for one more with Madame Mim, but I'm actually not terribly worried about that. Make a trade there. So, otherwise, I'm a little bit worried about them bouncing their own Merlin for lethal. I guess, depending on what they have, they could bounce their own Merlin and replay it. Yeah, they'd get me that way. Alright. Well, I'm just going to put 2 lethal characters in play and see what happens. There's definitely things that get us here. Two-drop Mim, even 3-drop Mim with an Inkable probably takes us out. Looks like maybe they were just doing the math. I'm guessing that's what they have. Nope, just the Be Prepared. All right. Okay. I guess. Show me another one. That's not it. Hey, okay, we got there. I know it's a very tight game, but I don't know. I think I'm going to keep working with this deck. It's interesting. I'm just, you know, I feel pretty good into Ruby Amethyst with it, like I mentioned. I feel pretty good into the blue-red deck with it, but I just don't know if you can build an aggro deck that doesn't just roll over to the Amber Steel decks. I think the next thing I'm going to try is probably Amethyst Steel. I think if you can find a way to slot some Fire the Cannons into the deck, it would improve the Amber Steel matchup for sure, but it's just tough because those cards aren't very good in a lot of other matchups. But anyway, thank you very much for watching, and like and subscribe if you haven't, and see you later.